Kia ora, Viv. I would like to start by thanking you for joining me today on really highlighting what hypnotherapists do. And I'm really curious about your practice and what got you started into hypnotherapy.
Okay, well, I'm really thrilled to actually be in hypnotherapy because it's a total step away from what I was doing. I was in hospitality and housekeeping and really loved my job, but I was also a health and safety person. And, sometimes you can get in that hypervigilant state of making everything safe. And I hadn't realized that I was actually had sort of some stress in my system that I wasn't acknowledging because it's sort of invisible until it makes itself known. And what happened was I had a couple of workplace accidents, concussion first, and that really stonkered me. I had to go back to learning pretty much how to walk properly, how to get my memory functioning. It took 7 months. Then I came back and wanted to go full pace into the summer season. And a month after that, I fell backwards downstairs onto bricks and I badly broke my right hand. And why that's important is I had a very tight cast, and when it was taken off, my wrist wouldn't move, nothing moved, and I developed a chronic pain. And people were saying to me, why is that not moving? And I couldn't work it out. And I had had some site visits, and nothing was done about the 2 sites where I had had my significant accidents. And I think that anxious part of me went into overdrive, and the chronic pain, which showed for me as when I got frustrated, and I actually own I was angry about the situation. I had a bit about that it's not fair thing happening. My arm would swell, and I noticed it, and I thought, goodness, how is that happening? And then I was also told, look, you may not get full use of your right hand, it was my dominant hand, back. We don't want to raise your hopes. And I thought about that and I thought, oh, that was quite a devastating thing to hear. Then I remembered I had been a long distance runner and I used visualization on the hills. I used to hallucinate myself into imagining I had an extra pair of legs, which is crazy to say it now, but now it makes sense actually. And I could get up those hills, and that sparked up in me, and it brought a little bit of a window where I suddenly had hope, not helplessness. And so I just actually, looking back now, I followed my gut because my head was all over the place, and I Googled. And this is how I found hypnotherapy and life coaching, which I fully appreciate. And, it's all part of what I've developed into my skill set now. And I'm so profoundly relieved and grateful that I found this approach, because I love the way we really meet people where they're at. We acknowledge it, and we can you can speak the size of where you're at. And then within that, once it's out, you hear it and you clear it. And some part of you realizes there is another part of you, the real you, that's sitting there. And so this is what happened for me. And I got into training as I was healing, and I used myself as my first client. And this was a wonderful thing to do because I've had an inside experience of the tools that we offer to people, because we never force anyone. This is always at the pace that's appropriate for the person themselves. And this is where what I'm loving is, because of this, people find their own way through. And all of our lovely, I call them personal empowerment tools, which is PET, pets, which I realize is pretty nice, because my cats helped me in my rehab. I really appreciate that, because it was that stroking, loving touch. And through that, I reconnected with myself and my feeling for taking care of me, and it was quite a different way of approaching rehab. It was an interesting layered approach of feeling more comfortable and seeing that way where every day I could make an improvement. And it was that just not even hard words like committing. It was just loving the fact that I would wake up and think, perhaps there's a little bit more I can go with this, push a little bit into extending my comfort zone. So I changed my language, all these kind of things. And then as I was learning, I saw how that fitted in. And I saw that when my body was calm, my words changed, my thoughts changed. And this then led to quite quick, empowered recovery. And I'm so pleased I was within, I've actually done 2 diplomas. I did the New Zealand School of Professional Hypnotherapy diploma in clinical and advanced hypnotherapy. And then after completing that one, I dipped into the other one. There's the diploma of clinical and advanced. And it was nice doing that because it helped fill in some of the gaps. I love learning, and I wasn't a sciencey girl at school, but because I'm interested in this, I've got a passion for neuroscience and finding out all of the ways we're discovering how our beautiful minds and bodies work together. And this enriches this. So it's now lifelong learning, and I'm in a totally different field. I've not worked officially. I had to resign from my job, and it was actually the best thing I did, because rather than wasting my energy being frustrated about something I couldn't change, I stepped into changing what I could, which was me on the inside. And I started to get a perspective about, if I can't change all the things outside, in front of my eyeballs, I can change what's behind my eyeballs. And this was I'm finding with clients, everyone has their own way of making their realizations. Like I had a woman just recently who discovered that the lovely vagus nerve that runs down, from the base of our brain all the way into our lovely gut, she had gut issues, and her language was, "Oh, I feel gutted," and she thought, gutted. So when we did some, of the vagus nerve calming, she had in her mind, she had this wonderful wellness practitioner who was making home deliveries, who drove down her vagus nerve, and at each letterbox, which was an organ, she delivered a present of well-being, and then came down to the gut. And this person guided herself through that. And it was just so lovely to hear her realizations. So having the imagery meant that she collected it as feel-goods, and she just will take this drive down through her body. And it was only 3 sessions, and she's got enough that she's found really through that fits in with her life. And this is the lovely thing. All her life experience all contributes to how she's now, and her word is flowing her days. So she's finding that even if there are some downs, she's not as down as she was, and she sees these as lovely opportunities to use some of her personal empowerment tools. And this is the lovely thing, it's such a privilege, I think, this approach, because it's so open and it's a collaborative partnership, and everyone's different. So this is this open approach where we meet people where they're at, and we respond and flex all of the resources we've got in a way that fits with who they are and with their own lifestyle. That's what I love. And that it's not a long-term relationship. These people are going to say, and I always mention this at the start, there'll be a point where they'll say to me, "Viv, I don't need to see you anymore." And I've had 2 clients this week say that to me, and I smile like crazy because they're on their way. It's just so good. And it opens up the way for someone else to come in, and people find us. I think we are becoming more known about now. And I've realized there's nothing woo-woo about this. It's wow more than woo-woo, because we can health ourselves with confidence. Just like we personal train our muscles, we're personal training our body-mind conversation. And the ripple effect of that is that all areas of our life can be enhanced. And these are little light bulb moments when you realize it, and why I don't niche to any particular group or, issue is everybody's different. And there is often a little bit of a core element of maybe elevated stress in the situation. So when we start listening to the body and we realize that it's really the body calling our attention, and when we give it the attention, and we respond, it already sort of starts to make those changes because it wants our attention. So instead of viewing things like anxiety and stress as the body lying or it's an unfriendly situation, it's messages. And when people appreciate that, they often are consciously resourcing that themselves. This is the amazing thing I'm seeing now, is that we can, use traditional trance that people expect most, which is, closed eyes relaxation. But even in our conversations, we are, moving in and out of different levels of awareness, and we hop inside to unpack what people are saying when we make meaning. And these are little journeys. And when people realize that this is a very normal process, and so many people know the driving trance, where we arrive somewhere and we haven't even noticed anything. And that takes the fear out. And then we realize driving's a good one to pop because we want to be present while we're driving. Yeah. So this helps people then look at their life and think about, where are times that I might be zoning out? And this is where sometimes people find anxiety zoning them into a tight little way of viewing things. So when we use the empowerment tools, they reclaim their space and their focus of attention. And this lovely idea, and a lot of this comes from the people that have responded, about moments. Our moment now is the wonderful opportunity we've got to change whatever feeling we've got or state that we don't want. So it's acknowledging and accepting it now. And then what would we prefer? And then remembering, if we know what we prefer, we've had an experience of that. So we just call something up, and people can go on little journeys where they remember. I had a woman recently who had trouble making saliva, and she loves that dark Ghana chocolate. So we were just sitting there, and I just said to her, well, share with me what's that like going through the process. So she just, in her mind, unwrapped and broke off a piece. She said, I can hear the snap now. And this was sort of mine. She said, is it okay if I move my hand? That's fine. And then she anticipated the smell. And as she was lifting her hand, she said, my mouth is filled with saliva. And she took a swallow. And this was quite an aha moment, just a little, this is how sort of profoundly easy this can be. And then sometimes there's people want to take some time to just consolidate that and feel comfortable because it's a difference. And then they often make changes where their confidence is up and they're just living their lives, and then they catch themselves already doing something that they may have been putting off. This pops procrastination, all those kinds of things too, which are little ways that we can maybe avoid facing big feelings, emotions that have kind of gotten our way, the limiting belief things. So yeah, I just find this is a lovely way of lifting hope and confidence, and people can flex everything to suit themselves, and they do. So just giving like permission and then hearing how they flex them, it's lovely. I learn every time I meet somebody, and that's the rich part of doing this. So I'm completely loving having my own little business, and then all of the wonderful people I've met through this. And I honestly do genuinely appreciate the connection with the New Zealand Association of Professional Hypnotherapists, because for me that was a pinnacle moment, because I love the fact that I am accountable for updating my knowledge, because it's an ongoing process. And I love the fact that I can ask and get wonderful tips, feedback from the other professionals. I love this. And I love the fact too that I'm having really lovely discussions with other health professionals where they see that there is a place for us in that community of health professionals. Yeah, and we can help by helping people manage, self-regulate emotions, energy. Often talking about that way is the easy ways for people to get their way of, one guy said, working this, and he had a lovely view of he's now got more emotional gears. So he loves driving himself and he imagines his range of gears, and he's got his dad energy when he's driving his kids to school. And he was driving with, his energy was too big. He races cars as a hobby, and he realized that he doesn't need to have his racing car fuel in his dad car. And this was his way of working this around to fit the way he views the world, and he likes it. He said it just gives him satisfaction, and he's noticed that he's loving the parts of his life that are now his dad energy, and he's having a closer connection with his children. And I love that came from him. It's so this is there are new realizations every day.
What I'm hearing from you, Viv, is a lot of times people can come in thinking that as a hypnotherapist, they're going to lie down and you're going to tell them from now on, you are this, this, and this. But what we're actually doing is we're helping that person to tune into their own wisdom, right?
Yes.
To really elicit that new story that they want.
Yeah. Right? And I think that's an important thing, because, we have that wonderful safety system in us, and it is there to serve us rather than our conscious, subconscious being at war with each other. They both want the same thing. They're there to serve us well. And I think if we come in and suggest something that doesn't fit with a person's actual where they're at, they're quite rightly, their safety system may go, who are you to push it this time? So this is where we have the ability, and this is where we do step in. I mean, it's a partnership. Our expertise is acknowledging the client's expertise, and we honor where they're at. So we tune into where they're at, and this is where we offer what they're ready for. So they lead us really to what they're ready for. And when we do it this way, I think that confidence happens. And when they tune in to the fact that they are making these changes, for me, that's the important realization. That's the aha that makes a difference, because then it's like they step out. One woman said, and this is her lovely way, she felt like she'd shed this shell that she'd been laced into, and she unlaced it herself and she chucked it off. And now she's got this wonderful way of imagining when she goes into situations that are sort of stretching, like if she's giving presentations, she's got this wonderful wardrobe in her mind, and she's got different colored suits. So in her mind, she puts on the power suit that will suit the situation she's going for. And she said, if I told people that, they might think it's a bit crazy, but she finds it a very easy way. Like, if she's delivering a powerful presentation, she's wearing her red one. And she said, it changes her posture, the way she breathes, and then she can relax, and she finds that she's in the process, and there's a wee part of her brain that's going, you're doing it. Look at that, and each time she does that, she's got more confidence. And, it was lovely that she found this way of resourcing herself rather than me telling her, And I don't think I would have known.
I think it's really important to remind people that we're a guide through their journey. Yep. And they're the one in charge. They're the one with the internal magic, right?
Yes. And the lovely thing is the step they've made in finding us, because that's often how people find us. And it's so good because they are following this, I believe, and I think that this is being backed up in the research that's coming out now, that we have an impulse for returning to balance and well-being. That whole lovely idea of homeostasis. And so I think that little feeling like things aren't quite lining up, that's often what people say, they this way, and there's a little bit, it's not meeting in the middle. But that impulse, that they've already stepped forward, and that's the lovely thing. When they acknowledge that, they've stepped towards a little bit of discomfort. There's courage there, and when people can take time to own that, and this is this lovely thing where we work together. It's a collaborative partnership. And when people are monitoring their own progress, this is so powerful. Noticing even little differences that they're making, because there's this where our expectation, if we're focusing, what we're focusing on, we tend to get. And even if we're avoiding something, it's still there. And I love this. We all of us often ask people who are new with us, how if we say, look, don't imagine a purple cat sitting in a bright red tree, people do. And this is this thing where I'm not going to look at that. The message there is really read as, look at that. When we get that, I think we can quite quickly reframe and realize that there's an easier way of communicating with our mind body. And I think that that's where the ownership starts to come. And I notice people like the woman who said she felt gutted, and she caught that word and looked with quite surprise because her upset was in her gut area. And that really helped, and she laughed when she got the gurgly noises of her gut being relaxed. So that's good conversation, body conversation. Yeah.
So Viv, what would be a takeaway message that you would like to share about hypnotherapy that you'd love to offer people?
Really it is that I worked out that hypnosis is simply harnessing our power to use our innate resources. Like, we've got an ability to work with the part of us that flows, all of our inner feel-good chemistry, if you look at it like that. We can actually, when we get refined with this, we can change our experience in just a collection of seconds. This is the wonderful thing, and that we're not flawed in any way, we're not broken in any way, we're just responding to what life gives us. And these are growing opportunities. So, and everyone's at different stages. And so we are able to tap into this part of ourselves. And I love the fact that it's almost like we dip into the subconscious a little bit to bring up maybe what might have been viewed as a problem to conscious awareness. And people often go, oh, is that all it was? And each time they do that, there's this relief, and confidence. And people come for all different reasons, whether it's improving performance at work, or whether it's coming from a health-related area where they've been to everybody else, often they'll say, and no one knows how to get to the heart of what's happening. But with this wonderful way where we're patient, respectful, we listen, and people get to hear themselves, when the body calms down, the mind calms down, and people's own solutions start to flow. And their voices deepen. This is often what people will say, especially women, this voice that comes from deeper down, and claiming space and taking time before we answer. And the interesting thing is what then happens for people when I meet them later on, or they'll often contact me just to let me know, even a year later, about where their lives have gone now that they've got this awareness that they can health themselves with confidence. This is what people have said. And I think this is where we can help our beautiful health system with some of the pressure points, and help people really restore their confidence that there are some things they can do, and especially I think we're seeing people perhaps with more long-term anxiety, stress issues, because they're unable to access the health professionals who they would normally see, So that's just how I'm finding that. But then 3 90-minute sessions, and most people, and there's never a judgment with this because everyone's different, but it just seems to be the way things are flowing at the moment. People have enough that they are excited about stepping back into their life. And their significant other people are sharing with them how relieved they are, because often, other people see our strength, and sometimes when we're stressed, we don't see it ourselves. And when people own that, it's such a wonderful moment. And that is the best part of having this role is seeing people just step off, and say goodbye.
So talking about sessions and how people might get in contact with you, where would they go? Like, you're on the NZAPH directory, so they can find you there. But if they want to go straight to your website and get in contact with you, how do they find you?
Yep, they find me through empoweringmindsatlife.co.nz, and I've got a website there. And there's a little option there to have a free discovery chat through the Calendly booking. And people can meet me in person. I am doing a few home visits for people. I haven't done that a lot, but there are some people who are finding it difficult coming out. I will do that, and also live online and on the phone. I've found phone is really handy, a lovely way of connecting people wherever they are. Yeah, that's the usual way. And I am getting some referrals from other health professionals. So that's becoming more of a way that people can come and find me too. And people have got support through their GPs. I've had a client who had WINS support. So if people can have discussions, there are some ways that they can get some support to come and see us. And I always flex so that, because this was so profoundly liberating for me, I wholeheartedly want hypnotherapy to be available for other people, because it helps people get back in their lives, and so that's really is behind Empowering Minds for Life. The name of my business came because that's what happened for me. And that's the name came up. And yeah, it's just and it's a rich community to have connection with, it really is.
So thank you very much, Viv, for taking time to share a little bit about what you do and share, I guess, the journey that people might experience with you if they were to come in. And it's been a privilege, and it's really nice to have you as part of the NZAPH whānau. So,
thank you so much. And I'm learning so much, continually learning. And this is what I love, is the people genuinely want to share the good news. And that's the takeaway. Hypnotherapy is the best news I found. Honestly, it is. And I see parents and children. And this is the exciting thing, is that children are so ready to embrace this. They really can teach us. That's the exciting thing, is my youngest client has been 6 and my eldest client has been 82. So it's right across the lifespan. Yeah.
So with aroha, thank you very much. And you have a wonderful journey ahead of you, I'm sure, helping so many people with what you do. So thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
Ka kite.
Bye-bye.